And Brian Clark at CineSport looking at the weekend slate of games with Barton Simmons. He's director of scouting at 247Sports. Barton, a ton of good Thanksgiving weekend matchups, but a big one for both teams for different reasons. Notre Dame and Stanford. What should be great about this game?
Well, I mean, you're looking at two teams that really are playoff caliber teams. Both are on the outside looking in right now, but I think both are that good. And Notre Dame, with the injuries they've dealt with this year to continue to push through it, I think this team is as impressive of a body of work as anybody in the country. And then Stanford, kind of two head-scratching losses. I mean, I don't know. I still don't know how they lost to Northwestern and how bad they looked that opening week. But when they look good, they look as good as anyone in the country. So to me, this is one of the most interesting matchups of the weekend. I think if one of these teams wins decisively, then it's going to make a strong case to push into that playoffs. Obviously, Stanford needs a lot of other help, but Notre Dame for sure is, I think, playing for a playoff spot because the committee has shown this that they're pretty fickle and they're pretty week to week, going with the wind a little bit in terms of who's looking good week in, week out. Notre Dame has a decisive win this weekend. I could see them in that Final Four.
Okay, a couple teams this weekend with big coaches. They could be playing for their coach's job. You look at Georgia. They've got Georgia Tech. Mark Richt may be in trouble. Who knows what could happen with Les Miles at LSU. Even Virginia, they play Virginia Tech. Mike London there in charge of the Cavaliers. How much fallout could we see after this weekend?
Yeah, I think that's what's kind of interesting and exciting about this weekend. And it looks like in Baton Rouge that they're looking for every excuse to send Les Miles packing. And a loss to Texas A&M, I think, would put the nail in his coffin. Mark Richt the same. Almost loses to Georgia Southern last week. Now they've got a Georgia Tech team coming in that's only won 3 games in the year. I think that's a bad enough team that suddenly that makes that loss, something that Georgia folks aren't going to be willing to swallow. Obviously, Mike London at Virginia is very much on the chopping block as well. So I just think a lot of more heads could roll this weekend. There's a lot more opportunity for some chaos in the coaching ranks. So there's some coaches, that really are coaching for their jobs still, and adds really a whole different element to this final weekend.
Okay, another good rivalry game. This weekend's full of them. Bedlam, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, their big winner this week in the playoff rankings, up to 3. But are they 7 points better than Oklahoma State? Because that seems like a big number for this rivalry.
Yeah, now granted, this seems like maybe one of those type of lines that, Vegas knows something, because you would think that line is going to be a little bit closer to a pick 'em. But certainly, Oklahoma is playing as well as anyone in the country right now. Baker Mayfield better be healthy for that 7 points to hit. But to me, Oklahoma State, just with the chaos theory, whatever's can go wrong will. I got to believe Oklahoma State's got a great shot at pulling this upset and really making things tough on the committee and throwing things into a little bit of a spiral because, as we've seen from year to year, it seems like if something can go wrong, it will. And it seems like this is a great opportunity for more chaos heading into that final weekend. I think Oklahoma State has definitely got the horses to beat Oklahoma.
Should be a good weekend ahead. A whole lot to watch out for. Barton Simmons, Director of Scouting at 247 Sports. Thanks, Barton.